Hello, my name is Kennedy Thompson, and thank you so much for tuning in to BTS Black Women Telling Their Stories. Today, I am joined with the fabulous Erica A. Hart, who is a casting director who's worked on incredible projects such as The Surrogate and Lapis. Today, Erica will be sharing with us their story at becoming a casting director and the trials and tribulations that come with that. To kick us off, have you ever regretted a casting choice? You don't have to say any names, of course, but what did you learn from this experience?
Yeah. So I try not to go through the world regretting anything, but there have been moments where I felt like I should have followed my gut and listened to my gut. Just because again, they're not casting decisions. It was more of taking the job that I took. Sometimes you take the job because you need the job, and then sometimes you take the job not because you need it, but you think it's going to move a needle or open a door or open a window to your career. But the truth of the matter is, if there is disrespect, nothing is of value for
Mhm.
that. And to realize that regardless of where you are in the industry, regardless of if you are a casting director, if you are grip, if you're a PA, if you are the director, if you are the actor, if you're the DP, whatever your job is, it's the most important job and it's the hardest job.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's something to realize because there's a lot of ego sometimes that goes into this.
Yeah.
But the job is hard regardless of what your job is. It's hard work and we sign up for that. It's long hours. But you shouldn't be disrespected
Mm.
because at the end of the day, I was saying about the word deserve. It's an interesting word, but no one on a human level should be disrespected.
Mhm.
It's just something that shouldn't, because we're human. And
Yeah.
so we all show up and we should show each other kindness and grace. And I think what my therapist and I have been working on has been the thought process of the fact that sometimes we get into situations and they're not the best situations and we think that we're being punished regardless if you're a religious person, if you're
Mhm.
atheist, if you're more spiritual. You might think that we as a society think that when something bad is happening we are being punished, maybe by God, maybe by a karma and another life, or the universe just trying to mess us up. But what my therapist has been trying to talk to me about is the fact that sometimes things are brought into your life not to punish you,
Mhm.
but to remind you of your worth and to
Yeah.
remind you that you are not going to take this anymore, and to
Mhm.
remind you of, like, you know what, no, I this is not for me.
Yeah.
This is not how I should be treated.
Mhm.
There have been moments back to the casting of it where I haven't regretted, but I've like, darn it, I forgot to bring in this person. Why
Mhm.
did I forget to bring in this person?
Yeah.
Or I'll be in callbacks and I'll be like, gosh, darn it, this person should have. So
Mhm.
there have been moments like that, but I try not to lead with regret. I try to remind myself that I know some people don't believe this, but I do, that everything does happen for a reason. Everything is put into place so that your path is your path.
Mhm.
And sometimes, things are like thrown in there to make you move to your left a little
Mhm.
bit so that you can go on your path and swerve over.
Mhm.
So yeah, that's something. It's just more of like not necessarily regretting it, but again, feeling it and just being like, maybe I shouldn't have taken that job.
Yeah. Wondering, how would you like to see the world of casting change in the future?
I think it's back to what we were talking about before. I think the world of casting needs to look like the world.
Mhm.
We need more people of color casting directors. We need more um people from different genders, sexual orientations, people, with different backgrounds, different ages.
Mhm.
Um different anything what that is not what people see on the daily basis. Just because I do think that when I am it was so interesting when I was working on that damn Michael Chase season 1, when I was casting it, there was a role of like the door girl at the club, and I just laughed because I was like, I know exactly who this girl is. I'm not a woman who goes through the club a lot, but my brother does. And
Mhm.
like, I know who that black girl is outside of the club with a clipboard. Like, I know who she is because I know her. Like,
Yeah.
I am friends with her. You know
Mhm.
what I mean? So I was just laughing because I'm just thinking about some other casting directors that could have gotten this job. They don't know who that is.
Yeah.
So there's already an understanding, there's already a picture in my head of who this girl is that someone else might not know.
Yeah.
Not to say that they wouldn't have been able to cast it, they would have, but it would have been a little bit more of trial and error. Whereas with me, it's like, no, I know exactly who's coming in. Boom, 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 boom. So
Yeah.
there's already an understanding when you have a casting director who knows the world, who knows the culture, who knows the society. Like there's a show called Bama that's set in DC, that I was like, whoa, this show, like I just learned about this show and I was like, oh my God, this show is crazy. Like I'm
Yeah.
a Black girl from DC who know a lot of Bamas,
Mhm.
grew up with a lot of them anyway. So like that's gonna be an awesome show for the community of DC to see that, because a lot of shows aren't set in DC, which is a shame. But yeah, I think when you have a casting director who just off the bat knows the world, knows the culture, knows the situation, I think it makes it easier.
Mm.
So
Yeah.
I would just love to see more people get into casting, because I think like when I was 18, when I was 17, I did not know what a casting director was. I didn't know who casting directors were. I couldn't just like call up someone and be like, hey, you're a casting director,
Yeah.
tell me about this profession. I didn't know anybody. So I think as we move forward, I would like, more people. And also I would like more respect for casting directors. I think it's a profession that people do not respect. It's a profession that, we are the bottom of the pay grade. There are a lot of talk about costume designers and their pay. Casting directors aren't even on that list because
Oh,
it's
wow.
so low. Casting associates, what casting associates make, it's really disrespectful. And I think, if we're talking about equity, we need to shed light on the fact that casting is a very female oriented job, and it doesn't go silent on a lot of us that maybe if it wasn't, might be different. The fact that there's not an Oscar for best casting,
Oh, wow.
the fact that there's not a Tony for best casting. We got an Emmy, there's an Emmy for it, and now we finally have a BAFTA for it. But it's a level of respect that I don't think casting directors get, because I think of the misogyny, of the sexism, and I think that would be also great to see, is casting directors getting the respect that they deserve.
Mm. Yeah, I think that also kind of ties into the idea of what you were saying earlier, how like everyone, what they're doing is the hardest job. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, like that's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's just like, okay, great. And again, it's like there's a best Oscar for costume, which there should be, but who are you putting clothes on?
Mm. Yeah.
And you're getting a cinematography Oscar, that's great. Who are you shooting?
Mhm.
And so best directing, that's great. Who are you directing? The actors, great. Who found those people? You didn't know these people.
Yeah.
you know so I think there should be respect where respect is due.
Yeah. Would you have advice for any like specifically young Black girls trying to get into the casting industry?
I think always, always, always reach out, just like you did. Never feel that you are a burden to anybody, because if they give that to you, if they give you that sort of energy, that's on them. It has nothing to do with you.
Mhm.
But also do your research. I think, there are a lot of us out here. There's me, there's definitely Lily, there's Erica Jensen in New York, Danielle King, Sujata Pace, Yolanda Hunt in New York. And then out in LA, of course, you got your Vicky Thomas, you got your Twinkie Bird, you got your Kim Harden, your Aisha Cooley's, your Leah Daniels Butler, your Tamara, you got your Kim Williams, you got your Alicia Tanya Jones. There's a lot of people,
Mhm.
there are many, Kim Coleman, there are many casting directors who I've left off the list just by forgetting them. But do your research
Mhm.
and see who's out there and contact them if you can. And if you can't, um that's totally fine, but there are ways to contact them. We're all on
Yeah.
Instagram, and if they don't get back to you, that's okay. Contact somebody else.
Mhm.
But also that's one part of research, but another part of research is looking at things. look at things, look at movies, look at TV shows that were done back in the day, you know, and I'm not just talking about the early 2000s. I'm talking about in the 90s and the 80s and the 70s and the 60s. Look at films from back in the day.
Mhm.
Always think about the talent pool and how large it is,
Mm.
right? You should know who these people are,
Yeah.
because though that's what comes up. It's like a young Brad Pitt, okay, great, or even like a Frankie Muniz from, you know, Malcolm in the Middle. And if you're like, who's Frankie Muniz, you should know who that is, you know. And if you don't, that's fine, fake it till you make it. But like, you know, just the best research as a casting director, the best thing that you will have as a casting director is your knowledge of talent. And
Mhm.
so when I was living at home during the pandemic, my mom would call me. She would be watching like Law and Order SVU or something. And I would be like in my room and she'd be like, Erica, come here. So I would come and she would point to a random actor and she would say, so who's that? And it was like a game and it was fun because
Yeah.
it would be like, oh, that's James Martinez, you
Mhm.
know. And so then I go back in my room. But it was fun to, and kind of reassuring to be like, oh yeah, I guess I am good at this.
Yeah.
But yeah, know your talent. um know your talent, watch things, research who are the casting directors, research who are the casting associates. If you love a show, you know, if you're watching a show, look it up, who's the casting director on that,
Mhm.
why do you love that show, you know, and reach out to the casting director regardless if they're Black or not, you
Mhm.
know. Because I think that's something that I did not do. I was afraid of being a burden and afraid of, you know, someone not responding or whatever. The worst thing that can happen is someone doesn't respond, or someone says no, or
Yeah.
someone says, you know, so sorry, I'm so busy at this moment, but maybe next time. But
Mhm.
people love helping people. I do genuinely think that. I do think that people like helping people. And I think people do want to give people a leg up, because most of us didn't have that. So we want to make it easier so that, you know, the pavement isn't as rough
Mm.
as it was. But yeah, just always don't feel like you are going to ruin anything. You're not going to ruin anything by reaching out to anybody.
Yeah, that's a very good take. For the last question, I was wondering, what is the thing that you're most proud of, and like, what do you consider to be your greatest achievement?
um wow. Um wow. You know what? I think the proudest moment I think was after I've done this for a while. Maybe not as long as like a lot of people in my industry, but I've done this for since, if you want to tack in college, since 2008. 2000, yeah, since 2008. So I've been
Mhm.
doing this for a little bit.
Yeah.
Um and I think the I've had a lot of proud moments and a lot of moments where I'm just like, this feels good. But I
Mhm.
think recently I had a really two moments actually. Um and they were all on that damn Michael Che. The first one was actually after we wrapped season 1, because after we were one of the first TV shows back, and we cast around 140 actors
Oh,
for
wow.
6 episodes. And that's a lot for
Mhm.
anything. That's a lot. Um, but at the end of it, I was very proud to say that could cast 140 people in a show during a pandemic,
Mhm.
most of them looking like you and I.
Oh,
And you know, it wasn't a big paycheck, but it was a paycheck,
mhm.
you know, when a lot of the actors weren't working for you know, a year and some change because of
Yeah.
the pandemic. And so that was an awesome feeling. And then most recently, when we were wrapping season 2 of Che, I had a really proud feeling because we were casting 6 roles for a certain sketch, and 4 of them who we cast were Black and brown women, but 4 of them had never been on TV before,
Mm.
but they were musical theater people. Like, they were musical theater, rooted in musical theater, were on Broadway, were on tours,
Oh,
did all of these things, but had never cracked into the TV space.
mhm.
So that was I felt very proud of that,
Yeah.
because here are 4 out of 6 women who had never been on a TV set before, had never been on a film set before, had never been on camera
Mhm.
in this way before, and getting, you know, that accolade.
Yeah.
But they had been busting their butts off in the regions. They've been busting their bust off on Broadway, 8 shows a week. But I was able to break them through I was able to give them their first TV credit.
Oh, wow.
So that was a very proud moment for me.
Yeah. Like, I'm so honored that you like took time off your Saturday. I learned so much about casting, and yeah, it's so nice to talk to like another Black woman in like
Yeah.
in the film industry. So thank you so much.
No problem. No, thanks for reaching out. It really did touch me when you reached out and we wanted to talk. So that's what I'm saying. Like, you never know. You never know what's going to happen. So definitely keep reaching out. You know where to find me.